These are the plaintiffs, Michelle Castanero and Joseph Michael Alfano. Michelle says she and her son Joseph put a deposit on a car the defendant was selling, but realized they wouldn't be able to afford it and canceled the deal. The defendant sold the car to someone else, is out no money, but still refuses to return their deposit of $4,200, which is stealing. So they're suing. This is the defendant, Bill. He says he generated insurance, plates, took the car off their sales floor, and the plaintiffs never showed up to pick up the car, never even called. What kind of people are these? Thinking they can just change their minds and walk away from a purchase and get a full refund on their deposit? Not very smart people, it seems. He's accused of holding on tight to a deposit.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiffs put money down on the car. Turned out they could not afford it. But the defendant sold the car and kept their money. The defendant says they can't just walk away scot-free. It's the case of you went too far with the car.
Thank you, Douglas. Michelle Castanero and Joseph Michael Alfano. Okay, mother and son. You are suing. You've asked me to refer to only as Bill's auto sales company for $4,200, $2,500 of it a deposit you want returned, and $1,700 of it travel costs for you trying to get your deposit. Okay, what happened here?
Well, I went to look for a car for my son. We were looking around, and we ended up at his car dealership. He said, I was dealing with one of his salesmen, not him directly, and he said that I needed to put down $2,500 in order to get the loan approved. So
how's your credit?
It's not good.
How's his credit?
Not good.
Okay.
Right. So he said, don't worry about it. If you leave $2,500, I don't want to leave $2,000 down, but he told me to leave $2,500. He can guarantee he can get us a loan. So we said, all right, well,
Did you buy a car that day?
No. We didn't sign any papers.
Did they buy a car that day?
As far as I'm concerned, they did, yes.
Is there a bill of sale that they signed?
No, but we have a deposit that got the car ready for them to come pick up the bill of sale and sign the papers. It's a twofold operation.
What do you do when you get a deposit? What do you do besides get a deposit?
Run credit, get to the banks, package a deal.
No, I meant at that moment. There's no paperwork. There's no written paperwork of the deposit.
No, we give a receipt.
Just the receipt. And so the
Correct.
idea is that if with that deposit they still can't get financing, then you're just going to return it?
Correct.
But they got financing in this one. Did they ever call you? What happened? You changed your mind on the car?
Yeah, the next day.
How
we
come?
Decided, well, Jerry had told us, the salesperson told us that it would be like $350 a month for the car payment, and then my insurance would have been another $250, and I thought it would be a lot on his plate with his rent and everything. So we decided not to take that route and just get a cheaper car.
So did you call them the next day?
Yes.
And called who?
I called the company in which
Okay,
we were trying
and
to get.
who'd you speak to?
I believe I spoke to Bill. I'm not sure.
Okay, and what'd you tell
I spoke to
Bill?
the finance guy that I wasn't going to go through with it, and he's like, "Oh, well, we already put tags on the car, and really you're going to have to talk to Jerry about that." Following day, Saturday, I believe my mother received a call from Jerry saying, "Where are you? The car's here." And I ended up getting on the phone with Jerry and stating, "Yeah, I called yesterday stating, I didn't want the car." That being said.
Well, that's interesting. So there's no bill of sale signed, so there's no technical purchase. There's a deposit, and they want their deposit back. And the idea behind taking the deposit is to get the financing. Have you come to court with any evidence that they got the financing?
I submitted it to the court. You have it. I have it as well.
When did they get the financing?
Same day. Everything's dated the 5th. They've supplied me on the 5th, and once again, this is through my sales staff. On the 5th, they supplied me with New York State insurance. We actually got them a better deal. Originally, the deal was set up at the $350 payment, like the plaintiffs discussed, but the actual approval came in at $300 a month.
You're saying here that their payments would have been $295.
Correct.
And all this, according to you, gets done on the same day. And then they do they tell you, do you talk to him, or was it somebody else who talked to him?
No, I never spoke to them, actually.
Okay, so you're not the one who
I'm in the
talks to
back room. I handle all the paperwork and all the financing with all the banks.
You know, they're not in the business of spinning their wheels for nothing. You know, like they put things in motion for you. You had to know that that was happening. And it's not normal to think that there's no consequence to putting a deposit down for something and then changing your mind. On the other hand, it would be great if there was some written explanation of what people think this $2,500 is, as opposed to there being zero explanation. So what is it that you guys do between the time they change your minds and the time that they told you go full speed ahead?
We run credit, costs money. We issue an MV50, costs money. We generate a bunch of documents, as you can see in a transaction. We prep and detail a vehicle, costs money. Every car on my lot gets new brakes, new rotors, oil change.
New brakes? No, but had you already done the brakes on this car, or are you saying that?
We may have. It's possible.
Okay, so that's not, all right, so it didn't cost you that. Besides, you sold the car, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So half the things you're talking about was already taken into account in the purchase price in the car.
In the next sale.
And how much did you sell the car for?
I don't know that number. I sell 70 cars a month.
Do you think that you sold it for more?
Once again, I couldn't answer that unless I had a computer in front of me and pull up that particular transaction.
Who did you talk to? You say you talked to somebody Friday. Can you prove it?
I could probably get the records from my phone company.
Well, no, you would have had to do that before now, because this is the trial. But but you don't have a name. You say, I canceled. What are you talking about? Oh, that, yeah, I canceled that. But you have no specifics. According to you, you only find out about this when they try to dispute the credit card charge.
Correct.
But you do find, that can't be, because you find out about it Saturday when they don't go pick up the car, right?
Yeah, not everybody asks for money back, believe it or not.
I need to know, I need to have the paperwork on what you sold the car for.
It's in there.
No, not to them.
Oh, I don't have.
Right, but if I take a recess, you can get it, right?
I can try to get it, is the answer.
Why wouldn't you be able to get it? You're the owner of the company,
Yeah,
and you
'cause I
sold
have
the
to
car.
go-
All you got to do is
yeah.
call your employee and get it. Court's in
Right, I have
recess.
to go into the computer.
Court is in recess.
All rise. So, if the defendant sold the car, should the plaintiff get the deposit back?
No,
Why?
because I think a deposit is commitment you're going to actually buy, and you can't change your mind. And this was like a young kid, and I think the mother should know better.
Like in an apartment lease, if a tenant bails but the landlord re-rents, the landlord can keep charging the tenant even if there's a lease.
Not if it took like a month to re-rent it. She's not going to lose rent.
Right, but if the landlord rents it, at that point the money stops. You can't keep going. What's the difference between that and a car?
I don't know.
I won. Going inside the courtroom.
All right, so as it turns out, who knew the owner of the company can get the information of his company when he tries. And it turns out that you were able to sell the car for $11,900, according to this bill of sale. Your bill of sale was $11,295, so you actually made, I don't know, whatever that was.
Whatever the difference is.
$600 or whatever the difference is. However, you know, you seem to live in this artificial land where you can put money down and buy a car and then change your mind the next day, and there are zero consequences to that. And that's not the case. So the issue that I have to decide, and let me make a suggestion to you. When these folks walk in and they just do that paperwork, and you may decide the cost of doing business isn't worth it to you, but there should be a document that says that these are liquidated damages for you. Maybe you would turn buyers away if you did that, so you don't want to do that. But if I've had cases before where everybody's real clear that this is a non-refundable deposit. Just because you don't sign something, that doesn't mean it's a refundable deposit. All right, people know that when they give money, there's a consequence to it. But if you want to keep that much. Because that much isn't the manpower it costs you or the paperwork it costs you or all that. If you want to be able to keep that much, then it's got to be agreed between the parties that you get to keep. That way you don't have a judge doing what I'm doing, which is trying to figure out what you're actually out, you see? But that's what I'm left to if there's no liquidated damage agreement between you two. All right. You know, and there are intangibles, too, that they have to waste the time of the salesman to go ahead and try to pitch it to the next person and go through all that. you know, there's consequences to it. So what do we call this part of the People's Court, Douglas?
It looks like a little rough justice is
There
about
we
to be
go.
done.
There we go. It's been a while since
It's
I
been
do
a little
rough
while.
justice.
Man, rough, that's
I've
right.
had some scientific justice for quite some time
Technical,
now.
right.
You know, where it's been real clear. All right. And so you're suing for $1,700 in travel costs. Do tell. How do you figure?
I'd like to hear that one.
Yeah, me too.
Well, normally, just for me to get back and forth work is 25 miles. When I take him, I have to drop him off. He works at a different time than I do in a different place. So it's an extra 50 miles a day I'm driving. It's an extra almost 3 hours a day in the car
How
for
old
the
is he?
last 11 weeks.
How old is he?
I'm 26.
26.
Does he have a license?
Yes.
Okay.
He had a car. He had a
don't have a
car.
car.
His car broke down. It's in my driveway.
Well, then if you
and I
bought the
have
car,
proof.
you wouldn't have this problem, right?
Huh?
There you go. That's what I
You
was-
heard
I
me.
couldn't afford it.
If he didn't breach the contract, okay? If you
Yes.
could, well, then think before you put down $2,500 a car. How would that ever be his fault?
Well, the salesman told us we needed to put that much down in order to get financed.
Yeah,
We didn't even
just
know
to
if we
see
were
if
going to
we
get
got approved.
financed.
No, there's no just to see. You had the car picked out. You had the financing that you could afford, but you changed your mind on what you could afford. They ended up actually, according to him, that if you'd walked in that day, you would see that they actually got your payments lower. Might have been worth it to you. I don't know. That car's already sold.
Yeah, it's done. It's done in my
So there's a
inventory.
plus 600 in your sale
Well,
column,
I
but
would
then
have to
there's a
analyze
minus
that.
something. You know what? And there's really something not right about you just changing your mind and not thinking there's penalty for it.
But we gave it was in 24
No,
hours.
there's no question pending. I'm going to split the baby, taking into account that you were able to make another $600. I'm going to order you to go ahead, and I seldom split the baby, but I think that that's fair in this case. You know, that you don't have a bunch of spinning of your wheels that, you know, was for nothing, and that you don't walk away thinking that you put deposits down and nothing happens. $1,250 verdict for the plaintiff.
So the plaintiff came into court seeking $4,200. You get $1,250 back. Part of that was other financing and a lot of other mumbo jumbo. But the bottom line is you're getting some back, but not all. The $2,500 is what you really put down.
Right.
That's being split. You're getting it back. You okay
Right.
with that?
Yeah, I guess so.
You think you'll learn anything from all of this?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Don't go to used car dealers.
Don't walk away, you know? You did.
Yes.
You're lucky getting what you did.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
sign a few documents
Okay.
with our court officer. He's right out that way. Thank you very much. Now, Bill, the defendant is on his way out of the courtroom. So they get to keep half the deposit. You get to keep the other half. That'll cover some of your costs. You think
Pretty
you're coming
fair. I
out
think,
all right?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair
enough.
for everybody. I think that's okay.
Does this
Good deal.
really happen a lot?
People, when they walk into a car dealership,
Yeah.
just something happens. Doctors, lawyers,
yeah.
surgeons, everybody just becomes a different person.
And
It's
they
kinda
leave
weird.
money with you, and they don't
Leave
come
money,
back?
and yeah, and then they
Crazy
just-
world.
Yeah,
huh?
it is. It's really. Car businesses are nuts business.
No kidding. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Harvey?
So, look, Doug, when you give a deposit, don't give a ton of money. Don't give, 60 or 70%. And if they're demanding that much money, you got to think to yourself, is this really the right deal for me? That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.